like to call to order the Utility Special District meeting, Monday, July 22nd, 2019, 6 p.m. Madam Roll Call.
Board Chair Kashama Miller Anderson.
Present.
Board Pro Tem Julia Botel.
Here.
Board Member Trodrick McCoy.
Here.
Board Member Shirley Lanier.
Here.
Board Member Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Ex officio Board Member Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
Interim Executive Director Leighton Walker. Here. District Deputy Clerk Jacqueline Burgess is present. Assistant District Attorney Lionel Busby.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we'll have a moment of silence followed by the pledge led by Mayor Felder.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the public shall be given a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items listed on the consent agenda. Any person who would like to speak on the consent agenda items, please fill out a public comment card located on the table directly outside the council chambers and give it to the staff prior to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
All right, disclosures by the Board of Directors of a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Board Member McCoy.
Yes.
Board Member Lawson.
Yes.
Board Member Lanier.
Yes.
Pro Tem Botel.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion for the consent agenda. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do we have any board members that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? All right. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Board Member Lanier. Board Member McCoy.
Yes.
Board Member Lawson.
Yes.
Pro Tem Botel.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Any person who would like to speak on an agenda item, please fill out a public comment card located on the table directly outside of the council chambers and give it to the staff prior to the item being taken up by the Board of Directors for discussion. Members of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak on each regular agenda item. In no event will anyone be allowed to submit a comment card and speak on an agenda item after the resolution is read or item considered. No awards and presentations. Public hearings. Do we?
Madam Chair.
All right. Item number 3, regular agenda.
Resolution 29-19 UD, a resolution on the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a contract with TSC Jacobs, Inc., Tampa, Florida, as a single source agreement for installation of cleaning pump system for the 4 air stripper towers at the water treatment plant, authorizing chairperson and district clerk to execute said contract, and authorizing Utility Special District Executive Director to approve change orders up to 10%, and authorizing Utility Special District's Finance Director to make payment from account number 411-31103-564-000 in amount not to exceed $65,000 and providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
We have no public comment cards.
Okay, so public comment cards are closed at this time for this item. Mr. Manager.
Madam Chair, if I can have the interim utility district director, Mr. Walker, present this item.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor, Mr. Manager, and the rest of the board. Leighton Walker, Interim Executive Director for the Utility District. I'm pulling up a few slides here just to give you a visual representation of what the air strippers are, and I'll just say a little bit about their importance. When we extract raw water from the ground and it comes to the plant, that water passes through these air strippers. The purpose of that is to remove any odors or any volatile compounds that may be in that water before it enters into the rest of the treatment process throughout the plant. Approximately 3 years ago, we rehabilitated these strippers. Prior to that, they were left untended to since the 1980s when they were installed. And so we rehabilitated them 3 years ago. Now, part of the regular maintenance in order to protect these assets is to clean them, have them clean to remove any particulates that may accumulate around the packing media. Now, this second slide shows what the packing media is. It's really, if you look off to the right, those are little plastic balls that increase the surface area of that water as it comes down so that we have more surface area to remove material from inside that water. If they're not cleaned and maintained, then they become one solid block of just useless material. It really decreases the efficiency of these ear strippers. So they've not been cleaned since we've installed them. And so we sought alternatives to find vendors who could clean them. When we started soliciting quotes, we got quotes ranging from $111,000 to $118,000 just for a one-time cleaning event. We went back and revisited the options. I asked staff to contact the original manufacturers of these ear strippers and see if they would be able to give us some idea on how to best clean and maintain. And what they came up with was they were able to construct a cleaning system, come on site, install it for us, train our staff to clean it for the first round, and then it would be just a regular maintenance item for our staff moving forward. That cost was $65,000, and so I would recommend that the board approve that.
All right. Have any questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes, sir.
the process, what have we put in place in regards to monitoring that this system, this new system we're going to be installing is going to be constantly monitored, cleaned, operating? What systems have we implemented with our new system?
There are what are referred to as pressure gauges that are installed on these ear strippers. And so we will tell when these systems need to be cleaned when there's a differential pressure between the pressure gauges. There are gauges at the top, gauges at the bottom, and anytime the differential pressure builds up over a certain value, then we know that there is buildup of material inside these towers. So staff will be trained to look out for that and to clean it moving forward on a routine basis.
Will there be a manual process of reviewing this, or will we be waiting on the gauges to dictate when these cleaning processes need to be done?
I think there are actually gauges installed there already, so that's how staff knew that we had to do something about it.
And how often are they maintained?
This is going to be the first go-around. Once we start this process, it's going to be on an as-needed basis, depending on what that, how fast that buildup is. The characteristic of the groundwater varies. We have 27 different wellheads for source water, so it all depends on what the combination of pumping is and what the groundwater conditions are.
Okay. With these new pumps that we're installing, I just want to make sure that we have a process in place to continue to monitor them to keep the life expectancy as long as possible.
Yes, sir, will do.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
One of the things we can certainly do is also work with the vendor and find out what their recommendation is with regards to reoccurring maintenance, so we don't find ourselves in this situation again.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just out of curiosity, how many of our 27 pumps are working?
21.
Oh.
We have 21 functioning.
Anyone else? Okay. Madam Clerk? Thank you.
Board Member Lawson,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Lanier, Pro Tem Botel,
Yes.
Chair Milland,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Item number 4.
Resolution 30-19 UD, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Revere Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the contract with Florida Spectrum Environmental Services, Inc., Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by cooperative agreement on their publicly solicited contract with the town of Davie, Florida for laboratory services, authorizing the chairperson and district clerk to execute said contract, and authorizing utility executive director to approve change orders up to 10%, and authorizing utility special district finance director to make payment from GL number 411-311-01531-000 in an amount not to exceed $80,000 and providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Manager?
Madam Chair, if I can have the interim executive director of the utility district, Mr. Walker, present this item.
Good afternoon again,
Good
Leighton
evening.
Walker. The labs that perform analyses of our samples, we have, on a routine basis, we're required to collect samples from our water distribution system and also from our source wells. And in the event that there is a release of wastewater, we also have to sample any water bodies that may be contaminated. For those services, we utilize labs, these state-certified labs. The labs that we've been utilizing up to this point, there have been a few concerns as far as their reporting methods and the way in which their reports are sent to us. The health department has specific formats that they require, and that's a problem we don't want to have with the health department, them continuously having to come to us about formats and reporting issues. So Florida Spectrum, from past experience with some of our staff, has been a lab that is pretty well versed in the proper reporting techniques and methodologies, and so they were recommended it was recommended that we solicit their services to provide additional lab analytical support.
Okay, we didn't have any public comment.
No public
cards, huh?
comment cards.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair, if
Yes.
I may, Mr. Walker, is there a cost differential from the existing provider that we have going to the new provider that you're proposing?
It varies based on the types of analyses that we utilize them for. We have a wide spectrum of analyses, and this is why we have a not to exceed. It's an estimate based on prior analyses that we have done with some of these other labs. So we just
So basically, we've used historical data and projected out what a trend is, and so this is a number that we feel comfortable that will not exceed to be able to provide this service then.
that is correct.
Anyone else?
I wanted to, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question about the laboratory. What actually did that entail in terms of what they're doing? They're testing the water, they're, kind of give me a little,
Yes, ma'am. They test our water. One of the things that they monitor for on a monthly basis is bacteria, total coliform. You've probably heard, we talk about that pretty often. So total coliform, sometimes they monitor for inorganic contaminants. We do have some wells that we do still monitor for volatile organic compounds, which is part of that hangover of that Solitron issue. So there are a number of different contaminants that are components, constituents that we utilize these labs to analyze for.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Board Member Lanier,
yes,
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Lawson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Bothell,
yes,
Chair Millie Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Item number 5.
Resolution number 31-19 UD, a resolution on the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, on the Procurement Code 16.5-66, Emergency Procurement. The district is requesting board approval to authorize procurement and utility special district interim executive director to negotiate a contract with Global Tech, Inc., Boca Raton, Florida, to provide services to rehabilitate softener unit number 3, an amount not to exceed $1,172,036.37 from Project 18138, authorizing the chairperson and district clerk to execute said contract, and authorizing utility executive director to approve change orders up to 10%, and authorizing utility special district finance director to make payment from project number 138 in amount not to exceed $1,172,036.37 and provide an effective date.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Manager.
Madam Chair, if I can have Mr. Walker, the interim utility district director.
Good afternoon again, Leighton Walker. The softening units are, or water treatment plant, the treatment process is a lime softening process. And so lime is used to remove a lot of the contaminants or impurities in our water. That's one of the primary treatment processes that we have at the plant. Now we have 3 softeners, and this first picture is water softeners. You may have seen these big conical looking tanks. And we have one to the south, one in the center, and one to the north. The softener to the north, which is our largest softener, has not been functional since approximately 2015. And I know that has been discussed at various levels. There was an attempt made to rehabilitate that softener. Staff had invited Global Tech back in 2017 to come and look at it. A technical memorandum was prepared. They had corrosion experts go through and look at every area of that softener in detail. And they came up with, after their measurements, a detailed estimate. And it was roughly in the area of $1 million at that time to have that rehabilitation done. It didn't get done, and what that has caused is that has put us in the situation where we do not have any redundancy to take the other 2 remaining softeners offline. So as it is, the other 2 softeners are able to treat our daily supply of water, which is 8.5 to 9 million gallons a day. But what it means is they don't get a chance to be rested, so to speak, so we can take them down and maintain and service them. In the past, servicing these softeners involved having to do extensive welding work because these are big mechanical units, and the wear and tear causes thinning. There's corrosion going on in these units. So we've not been able to maintain the other 2 softeners. Speaking with staff, they have mentioned that they are in critical need of repair at this time. And we would not want to have the risk of having a failure of one or both of those softeners, because the alternative we would have is to purchase water from a neighboring utility. So it's the recommendation is to allow us to enter into this agreement with Global Tech, because they have done the legwork. They took months to measure and analyze and do everything with that large softener, and they're ready to do the work.
Madam Chair? Yeah. Sorry, he looked like he was done. Is he done?
I don't know if he was done yet.
Thank you. Sorry. I have a couple of questions. Since the original agreement with Global Tech was approved 2 years ago, and they identified the problems then, why are we now in an emergency situation and being forced to approve this item when it could have been addressed originally? I mean, I know you weren't here then, so maybe you don't have an answer, but I would like to know if there is an answer.
The priority at the time, there were different priorities with the leadership at the district. There were other projects that were being prioritized at the time. But staff has brought it to our notice, to our mention, that it critically needs to be done, and that's what we're trying to address.
So I'm going to hope and presume that we'll put measures into place so that going forward we won't have such emergencies and we can deal with things as they come up.
Yes, Madam Councilwoman. One of the things that we're going to do as we get into the budget process is to make sure that items that are related to the health, safety, and welfare of the public are priorities. I've had a conversation with staff, and things that are water quality in nature, we're going to make sure that those are items that do not get delayed. In my conversation with staff, they brought this to my attention. The vendor's original proposal, when they came back to us, was well over $1.6 million. Staff then went back and negotiated back to the 2015 price for us to be able to proceed forward. Our concern is if we went through a competitive solicitation process, how long does that put us out?
It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, just the legwork to have to assess and do all of that.
Okay. So the fact that Global Tech is designing the project, construction of the project, who's overseeing, will you be overseeing and reviewing their design and being sure that the fox isn't guarding the hen house, as it were, so that we have complete oversight from internal management?
Yes. And Mr. Walker, how long would it take if the board is to approve this item for work to commence on the unit?
I would think in probably less than a month, we could get them mobilized. They were ready in the past, and what they asked me this time, are you serious this time? They asked me, so they were ready to go. So I think in less than a month, we could have them out there doing work on it.
Now, I know, thank you, Madam Chair. I know that the question will come up from constituents across the city. This will not have any effect on the quality of the water. This is simply for redundancy.
It's just for redundancy. In fact, it would improve the treatment ability of the plant.
Okay.
We'd have 3 units that are actually treating.
And I'm hoping and assuming again that we will have some long-term vision and plan for improving the water quality in the city. Water quality, color, hardness. You know, we've had I'm sure you have had with my colleagues as well, many conversations about the quality of the water in the city. So I'm hopeful that this will be something coming to our attention in the short term. And I have one final question. You and I had a meeting probably the last day Mr. Horton was here with some folks that talked about migrating away from the lime softening method. Is that something you'll be looking at in the long-term plan?
Yes, ma'am. There are some options that we've been looking at. That is an old technology,
It is.
antiquated, and I've already engaged a manager. We're in discussion, so I would allow him to apprise you of the options that are on the table.
We don't need to discuss them now. I just want to be sure that there is going to be a consideration of migrating away from that older lime softening technology.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Were you finished with your presentation, Mr. Walker?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
You have any
Oh,
other questions?
I'm sorry.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I just wanted to go through these pictures and
Okay,
show
go
you.
ahead.
So that's softener one of the functioning ones. That's a little bit of detail on what's happening in softener 1. So that's a working softener. Look at the rust and the corrosion that's happening there. So that's softener 2. That also, you can see a lot of rust there. These softeners need to be taken down and maintained. And this is softener 3 that has not been treating. If you look, you see that brown color slurry there of lime. That's when it's actually providing treatment. Softener 3, there's nothing in that inner ring because there's no treatment capacity. So part of what they'll be doing is replacing this gear drive in the center here and doing structural repairs to that softener so we can have that additional treatment ability and capacity.
Mr. Walker, question for you. So we get the firm out here to get softener 3 up and operational. Can we anticipate as part of the budget process that there is going to be O&M money that's going to be requested to address some of the issues and deficiencies that we've seen in softener 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. There is, and I think Mr. Sherman can speak to that, but I think there is enough allocation in there that we can address softeners 1 and 2. There's a line item in our CIP budget that has enough that should be able to address those other softeners.
And Madam Chair, if I may want to speak to that, there is money budgeted for this, so this is not an unbudgeted expenditure. I think there is approximately, and Mr. Sherman can correct me if I'm wrong, I think about $3.5 million that's in the budget associated with this project. So there's adequate funds to remedy all these situations that have been identified this evening.
Okay. Have any questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Mr. Walker, how long has softener 3 been down or non-functional?
It's probably been down close to 4 years.
4 years?
Yes, sir.
And the reason that this is a priority or an emergency situation is because of the expectancy or life expectancies of softener 1 and 2 deteriorating so fastly? Or why is it that this is such a priority right now where we cannot go to an RFP process?
The real reason is immediate failure of softeners 1 and 2, something that may cause us to lose significant treatment capacity at the plant and also endanger the safety of our staff at the plant.
Anyone else? Or are you finished? Did I miss, with the priorities that we have been setting throughout these different budgets, and I know you were not the executive, you were not the manager, do you have any idea as to why this never rose to the top as being a high priority when we were sit here and have all these budget workshops? Because I don't recall any of this being explained or discussed or shown. And you know, that's what really upsets me, because, you know, we have to rely on the management, the staff, to provide us with this information. And when we're making these decisions, we're making decisions based on what we're, you know, by the experts. And I'm sure if I'd seen something like this or heard things that were going on, such as this, we would have made sure that it was a priority. So do you know or have any idea as to why this was always kept on the low end of the priority list?
I couldn't give you a definite
Right.
answer to that, Madam Chair, but I think as far as setting the priority, staff may have looked at the priority in terms of timeline of execution, not in terms of the importance or the criticality to health and safety and operation. As you know, there are a number of projects, and I think every year staff prioritizes how they're going to do the spend. So I think this project probably kept getting bumped out for other projects.
Well, I definitely, you know, agree that, you know, life and health safety should be the criteria that we're using when we're making these decisions. So I look forward to that being the number way method of trying to determine what's a priority. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Walker, in the event that we do have failures in softeners 1 and 2, what are going to be the alternatives? What happens at that point?
The alternative, Mr. Lawson, is to open the interconnects either with West Palm Beach or with Seacoast,
Mm-hmm.
and either one or both. We would rather not open the one with West Palm Beach because they're a surface water,
Right.
but that would be the alternative. If there's not enough capacity for one utility to cover us, we would have to open both.
So we do have options without having to expedite this in the event we have immediate failures in softener 1 and 2.
In the event that there's immediate failure, yes, sir, we
Right.
would have to open our interconnects.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would probably make a recommendation that we go to a competitive RFP process for this, simply because we have alternatives instead of rushing a $1.1 million job and not knowing what other options we have on the table.
I have a question. So can you explain a little bit about with the connect being made and what that looks like, and is there a cost or what does?
In the past, just to give you an idea of the effect of opening the interconnect, if we have to open the one with West Palm Beach, there are a lot of chemistry issues that would happen inside our system. I don't know what the effects would be, how maybe we'd have to spend a lot to remedy that. But in the past, just from experience in opening interconnects with Seacoast to the north, who has a similar source water as we do, we've spent, I think, on the order, in one event, $50,000 in less than a week, just for a couple of days. So Seacoast, they charge $4 something per 1,000 gallons. We charge $2 something. So we pay a premium for opening the interconnect. With West Palm Beach, it would be $7, almost $8 per gallon that we'd be paying, per 1,000 gallons that we'd be paying for water.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Walker, in the event that we do have a situation where there is failure and all three are down, now we're looking at 3 times the amount of money, in essence, to get those systems up and operational, and then it will be a duration of well over maybe 6 months to get all that system up and operational. And you're gonna see that number be significantly higher, as well as us paying the money to get the water from our partners, whether it's West Palm or Seacoast. So this is the best of the worst options, for lack of a better term.
For the bid process, how much time would that be if we sent it out the bid?
As I indicated earlier, if we're going to go to a competitive process, the entities or whoever is competing would have to do a site visit. And in doing that inspection of the softener, it took Global Tech, I think, 4 to 5 months to get everything together, because they had to bring a special corrosion expert in. They had to shut down the softener, clean it out, look at it, and then the competitive process on top of that. My procurement staff, it would probably take another couple months on top of that. And factoring in what they have mentioned to me is that with the increased numbers that they have given us, steel prices are varying with whatever is happening nationally, and that may also reflect, if we delay, we may reflect in a higher cost.
Well, I could tell you, for me, it has always been an issue for me when we have these emergency items that pop up, and I've been saying this for a while. So I'm not just eagerly going to go along with this, but I do understand the benefits of having to move forward with this, but I also understand too, because there's already a perception out there right now that we're trying to get rid of our water utility district and privatize it and outsource it to different companies. And then opening up the Connect, and then basically paying twice what we're already having to put out for it, and then at the same time have to wait 8 months to get the bid process going, get the people here. We're still having to put out more money in. I mean, we could run the risk of it shutting down, or we could run the risk of it, still being okay and never having to go that route, but we don't know. And I'm not an expert to sit here and say it's not going to do it and then turn around and it doesn't, and then, you're making a decision that you have to live with at that point. It is a very large amount for me, and I did have concerns with it, just as I have for other amounts that have come through that we've pushed through with emergency purposes before. But the only difference in this situation right now for me is that Mr. Evans knows, at least my position on these emergency items coming through. And because it obviously has been some neglect for some time that has put us in this position, which is why I feel that we're here right now. But I don't foresee this being an ongoing situation where we're being put in these positions, because at that point, then we need to have a different kind of conversation if that's going to be an ongoing thing. So I can support the item for those reasons only. But please make no mistake, I am not in favor of a whole bunch of emergency contracts coming up at all, especially for large amounts. So that's where I am with it. Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Walker, in the event that the softener 3 is installed and we do update this new one, we have failures in 1 and 2, can the city still run with just softener 3 if 1 and 2 go ahead and fail as soon as we install number 3?
Softener 3 is our largest softener. The capacity of that one is 7.5 million gallons a day. That is really close to what our daily consumption is. We consume between 8.5 to 9 million gallons a day. So softener 3 is definitely the most important one. If we were to have a failure of, let's say, one of the others, it wouldn't affect our ability to deliver and treat safe water.
Okay, Madam Chair, follow up?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So right now, I guess our concern is that we're seeing failures in 1 and 2, and we're being aggressive with repairing 3 that's been down for the last 4 years. But without having a competitive process or knowing what other prices, we're spending $1.1 million to get softener 3 up and running that's been down for 4 years. It is our largest container, largest capacity, and it's the best one to get up and running immediately. But I think that we need to take our time with putting in the proper process, going through RFP and understanding what our cost truly is. Because without being professionals or proficient in this, I have no idea what we're approving for 1.1 million when I have no other competitive bids to actually look at. So if our department is saying, if our department head is saying, hey, 1.1 is a good price for it, then we can go forward. But I have no idea what other comparisons I'm looking at.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Go ahead.
can we call the question, please?
Mr. Evans, you good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk.
Board Member Lanier,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Lawson,
No.
Pro Tem Botel,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes.
That motion passed with Board Member Lawson dissenting.
All right. Item, public comments. Comments from the public. Do we have any public comment cards?
We have one public comment card.
All right. Public comment should be restricted to issues, matters, or topics pertinent to the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District. Please be reminded that the Board of Directors have adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the entrance of the council chambers. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the district board chairperson may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting and/or building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly.
Madam Chair, are you going to keep the acceptance of public comment cards open, or you want me to close it?
You can leave it open, but we'll be closing the meeting out before 7:30, so.
Okay.
But you can leave it open.
The public comment card we have is Rick Myers.
All right, you here? Come on up. Came too fast for you, huh?
Hello, I am
Good evening.
Rick Myers, 3620 Palm Drive, Riviera Shores, which is kind of Lake Park Marina, Coast Guard Station east of Winn-Dixie.
Hold on. Do we have a clock, or
I'm using my
you're using, okay.
Let her ride.
Go ahead, you're good, keep going.
This is totally not related to your project of the water, but I'm here on behalf of, well, my neighborhood and the surrounding areas, and the project is coming up in discussion pertaining to D.R. Horton and the townhouses west of Broadway, which is so invited I can't even tell you. Anything that CRA does to bring in new and improved, I'm all about it. Obviously, it impacts a lot of traffic. All that being said, we just have to get through and get to these new projects, and we'll work it out in the end. I just need to see some newness. I've been here since 2000. And I came up from South Palm Beach to come to Riviera Beach. I'm a boater. It's my industry. And this is the greatest place on the water to come and work and live and play. But it's kind of a dragging your feet. You know, everybody knows there's been a lot of money wasted on consulting fees and plans that went to the wayside, but it's got so much potential. I just want to see something happen, and I'm all for anything, any progress. And going back, this has nothing to pertain to the project, but my wife is a hydrogeologist and does the projects on water sources for utilities. And I started looking into the facts while you're all talking, and Global Tech is a really great company, you know, and I didn't come here to talk about Global Tech, but it's like, wow, okay, well, I mean, I'm sitting here chatting with them, and yeah, it's a big issue with your water utilities, so it's something to look into, and it's such a huge issue with, you know, water filtration, because you have waste induction that goes back into wastewater, goes back in and filters up, and if you don't have these filtration systems like you have, and you don't keep up with them, it's a big problem, and it will be a huge problem down the road. So if you maintain your utilities like we have, we don't want to be West Palm Beach. They have a lot of contaminants. We are a little bit above them, and we're very progressive up here, and we are the leading city for the future. So that's all I want to, you know, try and push forward, because we have so much potential. So, in addition to the project, which I'm backing by all means, absolutely, I want to see progress. We have so many empty trailer parks.
Thank you, your
you know.
time.
Is my time up?
Yeah, I know it was difficult to monitor. It went so quick, didn't
Oh
it?
my gosh, I can spend so much time up here. Hey, I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you guys are back on the board. This is awesome. Thank you for coming back, and
Thank you so
we'll look
much.
forward to the next meeting.
All
Okay, thank
righty,
you.
thank you. Miss Jackie, will we have a computer for the clock for the
It's
next
not the
meeting?
computer,
Or
it's
you-
that the
what is it?
internet is down, so,
Our internet is working. We got to get that going some kind of way because this is not going to work.
yeah.
All right. That's the end of public comments, discussion and deliberation. Discussion by executive director of the utility special district or the city manager.
I have nothing,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right.
Madam Chair, I have nothing.
All right. Statements by the district board. We'll start down with Mr. Lawson.
I have nothing, Madam Chair.
All right. Councilwoman Lanier.
I just want to thank the Water Department for moving forward with getting a lot of the issues that have been neglected for a long time with the water utility district. And I'm really happy that we're moving forward on this project and other projects that concern the water that I drink every day. Thank you.
Mr. Councilman McCoy.
Nothing.
Council Chair Pro Tem Botel. I just have one question about the water. We have, we don't have a lot of people in my house, so we have one of the restrooms where we don't use that often, and I swear the toilet is turning yellow because we don't flush it that often. So what's causing that? It didn't always do that.
That's a good question, Madam Chair. I would have to ask staff to follow up to see what's
Yeah.
happening at your home. We do typically, if there are complaints like that, the water plant superintendent and the distribution superintendent they'll head out there and see what's happening. Sometimes it could be that the line needs to be flushed outside your home. It could be a number
A
of
variety of
reasons.
things.
So yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay,
Madam Chair, on
Yes.
that note, may I follow up?
yes.
Thank you. I had a meeting yesterday over at the Marriott on Singer Island, and if you may recall that one of the public meetings we had, they showed pictures of yellow bathtubs in the Marriott. People pay an awful lot of money to stay over there. And the gentleman told me yesterday he just put in a $40,000 filtration system in his own apartment in the private tower, private residences over there. Could you please, could we agree that it's all right for me to ask the interim utility director to look into that?
You can ask the manager.
Mr. Manager, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Nothing.
All right. With that, we stand adjourned. We will start in about 5 minutes for our next special city council meeting, I believe we'll have.
6:40.